Well, what a privilege it is to be with you as we continue with our Lent vlogs. This is our penultimate one. And haven't we travelled on a journey together each and every day? I hope, like me, you have loved listening to the different reflections. And I suppose when I signed up and saw the different days, the 1st of April jumped out to me. April Fool's Day, but more importantly, Maundy Thursday. So the reading I'm going to help us to think about is from 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 23 to 26. And I'm going to read from the Message Bible. Let me go over with you again exactly what goes on in the Lord's Supper and why it is so centrally important. I received my instructions from the Master himself and passed them on to you. The Master, Jesus, on the night of his betrayal, took bread. Having given thanks, he broke it and said, "This is my body broken for you. Do this to remember me." After supper, he did the same thing with the cup. "This cup is my blood, my new covenant with you. Each time you drink this cup, remember me." What you must solemnly realise is that every time you eat this bread and every time you drink this cup, you reenact in your words and actions the death of the Master. You will be drawn back to this meal again and again until the Master returns. You must never let familiarity breed contempt. I remember when I first came to Christchurch a couple of years ago, I was asked why was Holy Communion or the Lord's Supper important to me. And I think I said something along the lines of, it helps me to refocus, to remember that Jesus died for me, for things that I've done wrong, and help me to refocus my eyes upon him, to refix my eyes upon him. And during the last year, I have, like many of you, tried to exercise regularly just to look after myself. And I've listened to many coaches and personal trainers, and often they say a similar expression. When you are trying to do an exercise, sometimes you need to stop, reset, think about your position, especially when you're becoming fatigued and losing that concentration. These words, "you need to reset," really help me with this passage. The Lord's Supper, Holy Communion, is a visible symbol remembering the death of Jesus, who died for everything I and we have done wrong. For my sin, our sin, those things that have separated me or us from God. It reminds me of the wonderful hope that we have when Jesus returns. And if we go back to that time, the early church remembered that Jesus instituted the Lord's Supper on the night of the Passover. And in this reading, Paul was writing to the Corinthians. And this fellowship meal had become a time when many people ate excessively, drunk excessively, and actually there was little caring or sharing with other Christians. And moving on to verse 27, Paul gave specific instructions on how the Lord's Supper should be observed. And he asked people to take communion thoughtfully, worthily, with reverence and respect, to examine any unconfessed sin or resentful attitude towards another person. In other words, to make sure we are properly prepared based on our love for Jesus. So as we remember on Maundy Thursday, the Lord's Supper, I ask myself again, and you, what does the Lord's Supper mean? You will have your own thoughts about the significance of what Jesus meant by this is my body, this is my blood. The important thing is we remember Jesus commanded us to participate in communion with him and with each other. This is a special gift. I pray I will continue to reset my position every time I take communion. So when I become fatigued with life and myself, in other words, go off track, I can refocus, fix my eyes upon Jesus, and remember what he has done for me with love and humility. With God's richest blessings to you all over Easter.